My name's Austin Murphy, and if you're on the fence about getting a new dirt bike but don't know if you want a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke, I'm here to tell you a little bit about both to make that decision a little bit easier for you. Now, I've been buying and selling dirt bikes for about 5 years now, and I've had probably a few of each one, and I know just the pros and cons about each. So I'm here to tell you about those. And according to deepscience.com, stroke refers to the movement of the piston in the engine. And a 2-stroke is 1 stroke in each direction, while a 4-stroke is 1 compression stroke followed by an exhaust stroke, and each of those has a revolution stroke, so in turn you have 4. Now, looking at the difference between a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke, you can see that a 2-stroke, the head pipe is bigger while the motor is relatively small, compared to a 4-stroke. Head pipe is thin while the motor is pretty big. Now you can tell the difference by looking at them, and if you want to know the difference by listening to them, the 2-stroke is relatively high pitched while the 4-stroke is more deep. Now the 2-stroke, the motor is a lot simpler than a 4-stroke, and it has less components, so it's a lot cheaper to rebuild than a 4-stroke if you ever have to rebuild them. So maintenance is a little bit cheaper than a 4-stroke would be, so that's one of the pros about a 2-stroke. They also are a lot lighter than a 4-stroke because of the less components in the motor. So a lot of people like the light, nimble bikes because they feel like they can throw them around more than a 4-stroke, but most people nowadays still ride 4-strokes. 2-strokes, you have to mix the oil and the gas in the gas tank. You have to mix it, so that could get a little costly for buying the oil and stuff like that. So most people just stick with the 4-strokes that you just put regular gas in and you're good to go. The motors don't last as long as the 2-strokes because of the oil. It doesn't have the oil in the motor all the time that you have to put it in there. So you have to rebuild them a little bit more, but it is cheaper than the 4-strokes to rebuild, so it's kind of even. The 2-strokes, the motor only spins or like strokes 2 times, so it's more peppy and the power gets put out a lot faster than the 4-strokes. So some people prefer the more easy to control power in the 4-strokes because it has to rotate 4 times before the power gets put out. And more of the 4-strokes have more torque than the 2-strokes just because it's a lot easier to control. The 4-strokes are heavier than the 2-strokes, like I said earlier. According to 2strokemotocross.com, 4-stroke technology has surpassed the 2-stroke technology nowadays, which is why most of the AMA riders typically race 4-strokes nowadays than 2-strokes. But if you're out riding for fun in the trails or whatever, some people also prefer a 2-stroke than a 4-stroke because it's just that peppy power, just people like that. And according to motorsport.com, 2-strokes hit hard and fast. Like I said, they're peppy. So some people prefer that, some people don't. And another thing about the 4-strokes is that when you do have to rebuild them, they have way more components in the motor, so a lot more things could go wrong, and it's more costly to rebuild because if you take it to a shop, they have to do a lot more to the motor, which is a lot more in labor. So typically, if you want to do it yourself, then I would get a 2-stroke. If you don't care about the cost, 4-stroke. It's up to you. Now, those are some of the pros and cons about a 4-stroke and a 2-stroke. And if you're in the market for getting a new one, maybe that helped your decision. Maybe you want a 2-stroke, maybe you want a 4-stroke. That's up to you. Now you know. I'm Austin Murphy. Thanks for watching.